Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla TV, here to talk to you today about Bassani exhaust for Harley touring. Pretty simply, you should be looking at a Bassani system, either slip-on or full system, if you want something that looks awesome and sounds great. In the case of their full systems too, you're also going to get the benefit of having an exhaust system that moves monstrous amount of gas through it. These things are currently being cranked out by Bassani for all touring bikes 95 and newer. Use our bike finder, we're going to show you exactly the stuff that's going to fit your bike without any type of modification or worry. Installation on these is either a 1 or 2 beer, depending on whether you elect to run the slip-on system or a full Bassani system. So let's get right into things. Daryl Bassani is a guy who A, has a really cool mustache, and B, has been making exhaust pipes for a super long time. He's kind of a weird cat in that he's been making exhaust for both motorcycles as well as cars. There's not too many people who straddle that line really, really well, but Daryl Bassani has for a while. Since the automotive industry is typically much, much bigger than the motorcycle industry, and they have a lot more money to throw at R&D, Daryl was actually able to take a lot of the stuff that he learned with cars, and he applies that to motorcycles. So we got the benefit of his automotive research without necessarily the high price tag. That's kind of cool. It's good for you, and it's good for me too. Now, Daryl Bassani has been making these pipes for a long time, and you can see obviously they are great looking pipes, but there's also some secrets inside to his full systems to how they make so much power. Now, before we start talking about the nuts and bolts of a Bassani exhaust, let me just introduce you to some of the stuff you're seeing in front of you. Firstly, we have on the Street Glide a set of their 3-inch mufflers. These things are great. They look really similar to OEM, but they offer just a little bit more rumble than your stock mufflers do. Give a listen to these puppies, see what you think of them. It's a real nice tone out of those, right? So moving over here to the table, you can see we have the same muffler, but this is actually a 4-inch version. Now, this isn't really going to provide you appreciably more power than a 3-inch muffler, but it's going to offer you a different look. If you like that big, chunky sewer pipe look peeking out from the bottom of your bags, the 4-inch muffler might be something you want to think about as opposed to the 3. You can also see here too, we have a Bassani road rage system. This is a full exhaust. It is black. You can see black heat shields, matching black muffler with this beautiful fluted black end cap on here. These things look amazing. This is a perennial bestseller for us here at RevZilla. People love this thing, again, because of the great looks, because of the great sound, and because these things move a monstrous amount of exhaust gas. So for those of you who are looking to make power as opposed to just make your bike look better and sound better, you're going to want to look into some of the full systems. Now, Bassani has a number of full systems available. You can see here we have the B4 system here. It's kind of funny, when Daryl was talking to me about these systems and sort of telling me some of the differences, he said, remember, you want to use the B4 system before you try the B1. So there's a couple different things out there. If you check out the product pages, you can actually see some of the results of our interview with Daryl that really drill down deep into the differences between the systems. But effectively, Daryl realizes there's people out there who want something that's going to help a mostly stock bike or a bike with just some bolt-on performance modifications, but then there's also folks out there who go hog wild. They're going to pour lots and lots of money into their bike, and they need to move lots and lots of exhaust. Because of that, you have to select a Bassani system carefully. It's very possible to buy too much pipe for your bike. That doesn't help anybody. That means you're going to wind up spending more money, potentially, and getting a product that maybe isn't exactly suited to what you're doing. So be honest with what it is that you're building, what your end goal is, and how you ride. So Bassani systems are cool. They make power in a variety of different ways depending on which system you have. But this thing is a good example of some of the technologies that Daryl's baked into some of his exhaust here. So let's talk about a couple of them since we're looking right at one of these systems. So now we're looking at sort of the blood and guts of this system. You can see here there's several exhaust steps. You can see one here, you can see one here, and there's one back here. The pipe keeps getting larger as the exhaust moves through the system. And what that does is allows the velocity to increase. Every time the pipe diameter increases, the exhaust expands to fill that new space that's a little bit larger. What that does is it keeps the velocity up. It keeps the exhaust moving through the pipe. The faster the exhaust moves through the pipe, the faster the exhaust gets out and the less work your engine is doing to actually push it out of there. You might also notice too the weird shape of these pipes. These are equal length. Equal length headers really do help the bike scavenge, and scavenging is the act of one cylinder helping to suck the fuel and air into the cylinder behind it. The exhaust out of one cylinder actually helps to pull in air and fuel from the other cylinder. Equal length pipes do a great job scavenging. The real money shot in these things, though, is the collector. Daryl Bassani has spent so long working on the collectors in these. There's actually a collector within a collector on most of his pipes. These things make huge power. Again, this helps with that scavenging. It helps cylinder fill on the cylinder that's not actually pushing its exhaust out at that particular moment. So all these things combined really do work together to give you an exhaust that's going to help move exhaust out of your bike quickly and lessen the load on your engine. One of the other cool things I want you to take a peek at, just as long as we have this thing spun around here, is you can see the bungs here. We have 18mm O2 sensor bungs, but also 12s down here. So a couple nifty things about these. These are made to fit a wide variety of bikes. Whether you have 18s or 12s, you're not going to have to use leaky adapters and such. You have all of the ports you need to do things correctly. They also include bung plugs, so you're going to be able to cap off whichever ones you don't use. But the nice part about this, for those of you guys, especially on older bikes, if you have a wideband system that does use the 18s, let's say you went to some sort of an aftermarket fueling unit that does switch you over to a wideband O2, you have the 12mm right in there. You don't have to go cut something out or make something work that doesn't want to play nicely or adapt it again. You can just go right to the 12mm ports. They're already in this puppy. You might need to extend your oxygen sensors, but really that's a pretty quick thing to do. So externally on these things, I think we can all see that these are a sharp looking exhaust. You can see obviously on this one, the pipes are deeply chromed in order to keep these things long lasting for a while, because the chrome is a very durable finish. But then the black heat shields they use here, the black they use actually on the mufflers themselves, it's a great match for the HD black, and they look really great. They're chrome, as you can see, miles deep. The stuff looks fantastic. Whether you wind up going with black or chrome, it's going to look fantastic either way. You can also check out, too, the end caps they have in here. They have a proprietary black coating that doesn't wind up turning purple over time. They look really good, and those contrast cut flutes in there, I think, add a little touch of class to the tip of just about any one of their exhaust systems that does have the replaceable end caps. So installation on these, we had talked about being either a one-bearder or a two-bearder, depending on what you have. Putting a slip-on muffler on a touring bike is not particularly difficult. You just have to do it twice. It's really not that hard. You're going to pop the bags off, slide the old mufflers off, slide the new mufflers on, bolt everything up, wipe them down, check for leaks, and you're pretty much off to the races. Most of you should be able to do a set in under an hour. I can usually swap them out on our Street Glide in about 20 or 25 minutes. It's a pretty fast process if I have my tools out. As far as a full system exhaust is concerned, a little bit more difficult. Not super hard, but you are going to want to change your exhaust port gaskets. You're going to have a little bit of tuning to do, and then you also have to sort of joggle the heat shields on there. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a pain. It does add a little bit of time to the job. It's not difficult though. I would expect most of you should be able to get done with that just fine. I had mentioned tuning too. I'm going to tell you, I think tuning is really important on a full system exhaust, Bassani's especially. They flow so much exhaust, you're going to want to use a fuel tuner on there. The whole point behind getting an exhaust is to get more horsepower. What's the point of putting on a great part that's just going to damage your engine, let it run hot, and not give you the performance that you actually paid for? So just keep that in mind if you are electing to go with a full system. You do have a little bit more homework to do just as far as making everything play nicely with your bike. I like Bassani pipes. These things are good looking. If I had a newer touring bike, mine's a little bit older, but if I had a newer one, I would totally rock a set of these on there. I like the look of them, and they're also pretty mellow. The sound is not something that's going to wear you out after a couple 100 miles worth of riding. My opinion is not the only one that matters though. Click below, check out some of our riders who've already bought a set of Bassanis and see what they thought about them on their touring rig. If you've got questions I didn't cover, get in touch with one of our gear geeks. See us at RevZilla.com. You can always get us by phone, 877-792-9455. I'm Lemmy. I'm out of here.